Hello, welcome today to our first session in Project Management Professional Chapter 1 framework. Now, today we're going to be discussing about one of the most important chapters, right, to differentiate in between the project, a portfolio, and the operations. So, first of all, we're going to be looking today, right, comparison between the BIM book 6 editions and the BIM book 7th edition. Now, the sixth edition, it was released in 2017, while the BIM book seventh edition, it was released in 2021, right? Now, we do have in the sixth edition, 5 process groups, right? And while in the BIM book seventh edition, we have 12 project performance domains. In the sixth editions, we have 10 knowledge areas, and in BIM book 7 edition, we have 12 project management principles. We do have in the sixth edition 49 processes, but while in the seventh editions, we have none of those processes are being set. Was in the sixth edition developed by PMI. In the seventh edition, it was developed by the project team and the outcome focused. So when we look onto the 12 project management principles, right? So we need to look on very important that the project management, right? He has the skills of what we call stewardship, right? And he should be a team oriented. He has to coordinate with the stakeholders. Value, he's driven. At the end, we're delivering a value to a customer. He must have the knowledge of system thinking, right? Leadership skills, tailoring solutions, complexity, solving all the problems, right? For the team and for the stakeholder, risk oriented, you should be able to identify what are the risks in the projects from initiation till closure and add it into the risk register. Adapt and resiliency, right? And he should have an accommodated environment working through a certain of methodologies, such as a traditional, the agile, right? Resiliency, he should be able to be resilient, right enough in order to get things done, influence the organizations. Quality and change requests, maintaining configuration management and change requests. So that's what we're looking on to the 12 project management principles. Very important that the project management to have those 12 aspects of project management principles. Now, when we look onto the performance domains, we have as well 12 project performance domains that the project management needs to be governed with. So we're looking on as well, he needs to work with stakeholders. He needs to cooperate with the team. He needs to motivate the team. He needs to develop, right, the skills of the team and approach to a life cycle. So we need to have a project life cycle adaptation planning. It's the base of the project management to build a plan, execute the work, deliver to the customer, measure against the baselines, right? Uncertainty should be able to manage the planned risks, unplanned risks that might be triggered throughout the project, tailoring solutions. You should be using static or dynamic models, right, in order to present the customers how they're going to be building the solution, methodologies that can be done, and the artifacts to be used. So we have as well, okay, to understand that we do have what we call a project, right? So a project, it is being considered as a temporary endeavor that has a beginning and an end. As well, it builds a unique product, a service, or a result, okay? As well, it is progressively elaborated. Now, progressively elaborated, take it as if you're climbing up a stairs, right? So it means that every step I'm taking in the project from initiation to planning to execution, right? The more knowledge and the more information that will uh, be known, which will enable me to build my product or service or the result. Okay. Now a product, so we might have like an ERP, a product being given, a service like a web portal, results like an R&D, web certain companies like we look onto the COVID, right? Research that has been done. So organizations are being, pharmaceutical organizations, right, had been hiring the companies, right, from pharmaceutical areas to start perform researches onto the medications that can be and the vaccination can be given for the COVID. So when we look on to progressive elaborated, so it means we're distinguishing the characteristics of each unique project will be progressively elaborated, detailed as a project is better understood. So once we have the main form of what are the requirements, what is being needs to be done, so the more we get stronger, the more we have innovations, right, on what needs to be targeted and what are the scope of the project. So a project can be broken down into sub-projects, right? So I can have a project, right? And I can divide it up into what we call a sub-project. So for example, if I take like a project like I have an ERP system, right? So an ERP system, it can be divided up into, right, HR module. So I can treat it as a sub-project. We might have as well as the finance module. Okay. So I can have different areas, right? And again, I can divide. So those we can call them a sub-project. So projects are frequently divided into more management components or sub-projects. Although those individual sub-projects can be set as a projects, right? And they are managed, okay, sub-projects. So they often contacted to external. So what, right. So for example, I have the finance area. Let's say I don't have the expertise, right, in my company for the finance to work it. So I take that work package, okay, we're going to be addressing what's a work package, right? Or the phase I have, right? And I give it to an outsourced company, right? Outsourced company to work on it. So that will be called rolling wave plan. So rolling wave plan, it means that I'm having a detailed plan, okay, rolling wave, okay, plan. So it means that I'm having a detailed plan, okay, and others who can expertise, they can work through it, okay. So rolling wave plan, okay, let me just get it right. Wave plan, okay, and that means I'm giving it to an external, and external, he can work through that, he can perform the decomposing, he can divide that work packages into small management components so they can be easily estimated from time, resource-wise, cost-wise, right, and the scope to be determined. So this is what we call the rolling wave plan. Okay, so sub-projects, okay, they can be also known as projects, okay. Program. Now let's take an example. Okay, we're talking about group of projects. So I take an example. So let's say today I am a civil project management. Okay, so let's say I have I've been given to build 5 buildings of the same texture, the same architecture. It's going to be, so that's going to be a group of projects that I have to build. So it means that when I finish the first building, I'm going to go through the second building to the third building, or I could be managing them in overlapping way, right? So group, it's a group of projects which they have a similar scope in mind. So the result of one project is fed into the other project. So when I first finish the first building, the output of that first building will be, okay, inserted into the second building, okay? And they are going to be part of a large project, right? So under what we call them a program that has been broken into smaller projects, okay? Now, when we look onto the portfolio, okay, portfolio is then we have a group of projects, program, or operations in order to achieve a specific business goals, right? So there is a criteria to achieve a certain business goals. Now, programs, they might not be related to the fact they are accomplishing business strategic goals. Again, so portfolio, it means, again, taking the example of the civil engineering works, right? Let's say I have, right, an arena, right? I'm going to work through it in which I have a group of buildings that needs to be built, and I do have at the same time a villas, right, in a big compound, right? So when you look at right here that I'm a portfolio manager who's managing similar projects, different projects, that's a villas, right? And I can have factory that's producing, okay, operation works, right? So they might not be related to each other, like we have the villas, we have the buildings, we have a factory, but again, they have a strategic goal that needs to be achieved. Now, when we look onto the what we call OPM, Organizational Project Management. Now, take an example. Let's say I'm going through a company, I'm going to start working with it, right, as a project management or as a program manager or as a portfolio manager, right? The first question I'll be asking, do you company, under your policy and procedures, do you apply the OPM, the Organizational Project Management? Do you have a standards for project management? Are you a PMI, a right certified organization? Do you implement CMMI? Do you implement any sort of uh, standards? So PMI, right here, it states that it's very important that every organization, from its strategy framework, right, in order to have a successful delivery for a project, a program, a portfolio, okay, as well organization able practicing, they should be always, right, have a certain standards, they adopting a process, okay, so that that will enable them to have a better performance, better results, and as well sustainable competitive advantage. So the purpose of the OPM, right, it will ensure that the organization is moving in the right track, okay? You're selecting the right projects, okay? You have the critical resources are being allocated to work on those, okay? To ensure that all the level of organizations, all the people working, the team working on through the project, they have a strategic vision, they understand what are the requirements, they understand what are the deliverables, the customer expectations, or we call them the stakeholder expectations, are being determined, okay, through objectives and deliverables. So the question comes right here. Why do we have, okay, projects? Why do projects exist? Okay, they exist because of standard considerations such as market demand, organizational needs, technological advances, customer requests, legal requirements, and social needs. So a market demand, it means that I do have request in the market for that product. Organizational need, right? It has strategic objectives and needs to be accomplished, right? Technological advances, I have a technology I'm working through right now, and I need to move to the updated technology in order to accommodate the market. Customer request could be a self-interest, okay? Legal requirements, okay? Social need, self-interest, right? That I need to have a certain web portal to present and market my product. Legal requirements. Now, legal requirement, it goes like, let's say I have a building, right? That I have built a building, but it's not under the regulations of the government. So it's illegal. So it has to be removed. I have to get a license for building and all that. So that's why it initiates a new project of a new building. Now, looking on to the difference between a project and operational work. So a project we discussed, we said it's a temporary endeavor that has a beginning and it has an end. Everything has a beginning and has an end. So it's a project. Operation work is something which is being ongoing, right? For example, updating the news website. For example, a manufacturing industry producing a cans, right? And daily, based on plan, right? They need to have, for example, per day, 10,000 cans to be delivered to the market. Now, when we look onto the project management as a definition, it is being the application of knowledge, skills, project activities in order to meet the project requirements. So we're here applying knowledge and skills, okay, to the project activities in order to meet the project requirements, okay? So a project management is being, his main responsibility is to achieve objectives, project objectives, right? When we talk about project objectives, it means that we're looking onto the identifying of requirements, okay? So the project management, he should be able to make the desires for his team, especially for the business analyst, right? And to aid for him, right, by meeting with the stakeholders in order to gather the requirements and so that he can know what are the scope of the project. He should be able to have a clear and concisable and achieve what objectives, what needs to be done, right? So he needs to balance between the scope, the time, and that's the triple constraint, new triple constraint, and quality and the budget. He needs to adapt specifications, right? Plans, approach different concerns, expectations to various stakeholders. So it means that he should be able to deliver what is being tailored for that, for those stakeholders based as their expectations and their requirements. So let's take an example right here, a question, okay, on the certain area of expertise. Now, the question will be, which of the following project management experience is being preferred? Do you prefer to have a project management who has only technical experience, or we need someone who has technical and business experience, or business experience, or technical business and project management experience? Of course, D is the most appropriate answer. Now, looking into another topic, right? What is a PMO, project manager officer? You might be heard a PMO. Is it a job? Is it a central department? Yes, it's a central department. So it's a department that centralizes the management of the project, and it has many rules. Now, taking up an organization, you have an HR department, you have an IT department, but we need to have a PMO department, a central department that manages those projects. So PMO rules, right? It is used to provide the policies and the procedures and the templates for managing within this organization, right? It provides with support and guidance to manage the project. It provides training to the project managers and the project management softwares that is going to be used, whether using Primavera, whether using Jira, whether using MS Project, right? So assist the project management tools to be used throughout the project. Nevertheless, as well, he needs to provide with support for the project management for different projects, being responsible for the results of those projects. So the PMO, he's the one who peers up the results that from the projects are being managed by his project managers. All projects, okay, whether in size, whether the type of the nature of the project, the size of the project, he determines which project should go to which project manager. Type of influence being managed by the office. As well, he manages the program manager. As well, he manages the portfolio manager. As well, he manages the interdependencies between the projects. Okay, he helps to provide with resources. He's the one who's only accessible for terminating the project. He also gathers the lessons learned to make it available to other projects, being involved in the project initiation. He does not leave the project manager alone in the first part. He needs to be heavily initiated. He needs him to get introduced to the stakeholders, and then after he approves the plan, the schedule plan, master schedule plan, okay, and the documentations of the project, like the scope document, the charter, right, and the communication scope, all the uh, documented project documents, right, of the or the subsidiary project plans, right, from the under umbrella of the project management plan, it needs to be approved by the PMO before the project manager can kick off for the project. So as well, we do have different structures of the PMO. So the PMO could be divided as being expressed by PMI, could be having a sort of supportive, right? And those are the PMOs whom they just give guidelines, they provide with consultative to the project by supplying templates, okay, and their training, access information, lessons learned from the project. Now their level of influence is being low. We do have the controlling, who is a little medium in the level of authority. So those who they provide with support, they require compliance through various means. Compliance involves adapting project management frameworks or methodologies by using templates, tools to govern. The degree of PMO, it is being moderate. We do have the directive, right, who takes more of control. He's the one who assigns the project director, project managers, right? And he is being his authority level, it's being high. So those are the three levels of the PMO that needs to be understood and will be asked in the PMI questions. Now, when we look onto the ISO, it differentiates in between what we call a standard and a regulation. So a standard, it's a document that's being developed by consensus by those expertise, provided by recognized body. They provide a common understanding, rules and guidelines of activities, okay, and their aim to achievement of the optimum degree to give a context. For example, a standard could be, I'm using CMMI standard, I'm using ISO standard. For example, if we recall the floppy disks, right, we had that time a 3.25 inch and 5.25. Those are being standards, numbers being given. When you look on a certain dish or a cup, right, you will find there's a standard bulletin for it that this is the size of the the cup, it should be the weight, it should be the dimensions of that. So there is a standard always there. But it differs with a regulation. It is something which is being imposed by the government, and we have to adopt it, whether we're applying for a product, for a process, or a service characteristics, okay? So must have an administrative provision, which is a compliance mandatory. So it's building a code is being important. Now, we do have the project management, right, skills as being determined by the project management body of knowledge, and that what stands for the BIM book, right? It states that the project management is very important to have what we call a generally accepted project management knowledge and practice, general management knowledge and practice, okay, and as well application of area knowledge and expertise. Those are the skills by project management. Now, when we look onto the project management, he needs to have what we call interpersonal skills. So, project management, one of his skills, he should be able to effectively communicate. Always communication, exchange of information is being very important. He needs to influence the organization. That means he needs to get things done. He should be as a leadership, so he needs to have a vision, what needs to be perform, have a strategy, how he's going to lead his team, okay, in order to achieve the vision and the strategy and the mission accomplishment through that vision. He should be able to energize, motivate the team to achieve a high level of performance and overcome any barrier of change. He should be able to negotiate conflict management, right? So again, the project management, he should be one of his skills. He should be able to have a negotiation skills. He should be able to resolve the conflict, and then we're going to be looking on to the HR, the team management chapter, and that is going to be how to perform confrontation for conflict resolutions, or to use compromise, or to avoid, or uh, to perform accepting consensus, right, to solve the problems. So conferring with others to come with term with each to reach an agreement. He should be able a problem solving problem. He should be able to define the problem. He should be able to diagnose that problem. He should be able to have an alternative, determine a solution and have an alternative solution. And then he needs to make a decision on how to apply that solution for that problem. So general management skills, it comes into encompassing, that means we're grouping the planning, the organizing, the staffing, executing, and controlling all of the ongoing operations. So as well, it includes the supporting disciplines. So you need to have what we call financial management and accounting, purchase and procurement, okay? You should be understand sales and marketing, contract commercial law. So let's take an example. Today I'm working as a PMO manager. I have gained throughout my experience. I've worked into ERP solutions. I've worked into media. I have worked into the geospatial solutions, remote sensors, photogrammetry. I have worked e-learning. I have worked in telecom business. I have worked into banking business, right? HIMS business, AI, right? So the group of, and as well from the ERP, I start to understand which is HR, what's a finance, what is a general ledger, what's a financial accountant, okay, what is a invoicing, what is procure to pay, what is order to cash. So a project management always needs to be wild in the mind and one deep end. He needs to have a deep information. He needs to get gather information. So when he meets, for example, he works as a business managing a project in pharmaceuticals, right? A software project in pharmaceuticals. He should be understanding what sort of business understand working. He should know the terms used in that pharmaceutical, civil, everything. So he needs to know the knowledge. So the project management, his needs to be applied to be knowing the financial management accounting, purchase and procurement, sales and marketing, contracts and commercial laws to be as well understood, right? So he needs also to have manufacturing and distribution, right? Logistic and supply chain, strategic plan. He should be able to have a tactical plan, operational planning, organizational structure, organizational behavior, personnel administration, compensations, benefit and career paths, health and safety practice, you should be able, and as well, information technology. Again, we have the all projects needs to be planned, implemented through social, economic, and environmental context, and they have intended, unintended, positive or negative impacts. Project team, they should consider the project right in its cultural and social environment. Team needs to understand how the project, okay, it affects people and how people they get affected by the project, okay. He needs to understand the international and political environment. Some teams may need to be applicable with international laws, regional, local laws, custom political climate. They should be able to understand those international political environment. They should be considering the time zone difference, the national regional holiday aspects, face-to-face meeting, and the teleconferencing, right? So it's important that the project manager understands the physical environment. Project team, they should consider whether the project affects the physical surroundings. So what are the surroundings, right? And how it's going to be, how the project would affect the surroundings and how they will be affected by that project. You should be able to have the local ecology, physical geography, and affect the project as well. So when we look onto the characteristics and differences between a project and the versus the operational, so we have common characteristics. It's being performed by the people. It's being constrained by limited resources. Planned, execute, controlled. Project, they have different start and end. Operations are being ongoing and being repetitive. When we discussed about the objectives, now remember that we have what we call hard objectives and we have what we call a soft objectives. Hard objectives, it means that those are the objectives that, for example, the project management does not have a control over. For example, cutting down the quality, cutting down the budget, cutting down. But while the soft objectives are the ones in which you are able to manage, like the time, the quality, the cost, that's what I can provide recommendations and I can govern throughout it. So objects, they are being defined in the project charter. Projects are being completed when objectives are being met. Reasons for terminating a project for completion is the project objective cannot be met. A more complete understanding of the project is achieved over the length of the project. It's the project manager rule to accomplish those objectives. Objectives should be clear and they should be concisable and they should be achieved. Now we have what we call an MBO, a managed by objectives, right? Is that it is a management philosophy says that again organization they should be as well have objectives similar like we have normal objectives like a project manager we have objectives as well the organization should have an objectives but it has to be in order to accomplish it needs to be established realistic and ambiguous objectives. It has to be periodically evaluate those objectives and you have to implement corrective actions through it. Remember, the old triple constraint was the scope, time, budget, and the cost. Now we have the new triple constraint, which consists of the scope, time, quality, resource, risks, and costs. Remember, constraints are being any factors that limits the option of a customer satisfaction. Okay, management towards the constraint, they should set directly the priorities to each through it, while the project management, right, he needs to execute those priorities throughout the project plan, evaluate the impact of the proof completion, the project. Remember that stakeholder is someone whose interest may be positively or negatively affected by the project. Okay, so whom are the stakeholders? Anyone who's involved in the project management, customer, sponsor, the performing organization, the project team, the PMO, the project management. So the rules of stakeholder is a project sponsor, is the person who provide with the resources, who provide with the finance of the project. Project customer users are the ones who are using that product or the service. Sellers are the vendors who are selling that product, who could be a supplier or vendor. Business partner, those are the cooperative organizations, whom are their partnership, enterprise attained by certification. And then we have what we call the organizational groups. Those are the internal stakeholders affected by activity project teams. Those are important rules of stakeholders that needs to know into your project. So hopefully this session has been of a great one and hope to meet you in other sessions with us.